Hey yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Justin, whatever y'all know me is here. Y'all already know what we talking about. It's the reason you clicked or tapped on this video. Let's talk about it. Raja Jackson, I will never see him the same way ever again. If you don't know Raja Jackson, Rampage Jackson's father is a former MMA fighter, one of the most iconic and most well-known MMA fighters in the last 20 years or so. He's one of the, in my opinion, he was one of the faces at Pride. He's top five. When I think of Pride, I think of Rampage Jackson. He was also a wrestler for TNA. Me, I know about MMA and I know about WWE or wrestling. I have a pretty good judgment when it comes to things like, oh, who's a good star, who has what it takes, who doesn't, just stuff like that. So when I talk about a situation like this, I can really give a full insight. It's not just like a kind of half-ass sort of thing. It's like I can kind of give like a thing of like, oh, I get this, but that is like a no-no type shit, which I will get into. So if you don't know what the situation is, essentially he committed or tried to commit murder on a wrestler who is very old, you can tell. Blessings to him and his family. I hope that he is even though he probably ain't, because he definitely got a concussion. But basically what happened was backstage, the wrestler dude, who was, by the way, a former servant of the United States military, he cracked Raja, cracked because it was a prop can backstage. Raja pulled up to the event. I don't know why he was invited. Clearly doesn't know nothing about wrestling. He doesn't know what a work is. He doesn't know what a shoot is. He doesn't know none of that. He doesn't know what a work is, etc., etc. Which, by the way, quick PSA, anybody who doesn't know about it, this is exactly why people in wrestling don't want these niggas anywhere near wrestling. We don't want this. Get out. Unless you want to try and learn. But Raja clearly has the ego of a fighter, and not in a good way. An example of a good way would be somebody like Ilia Tuporia. And this is, by the way, also the reason why we respect and adore the guys who are humble, super humble and don't got egos, such as Manny Pacquiao, for example. I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but just bear with me. So I'm not going to talk about, the whole situation. I'm just going to kind of like go through it a little bit because most of you watching this video probably already know. Y'all know what happens. You already know what happened. You're just watching me talking about this shit. If you don't know what happens, I will resume it though, however, very quickly. So essentially, like I say, he cracked over. The guy was kind of like, typical wrestler, like, oh, I never seen you around here, type of energy. Was he pressing him? Yes, but not in the typical sense. And Raja thought he was getting like pressed. And he also just doesn't respect the business. You can tell he doesn't respect the business of wrestling, because he doesn't know it, etc., etc. He just doesn't care. So he thinks he's getting like press. I'm talking about like street shit, like that type of pressing. He thinks this old dude is pressing him, and he's like, hey, I don't do this. Like, I will really fuck you up. And I get it in this particular moment. However, afterwards, by the way, it was a prop can, so it didn't even hurt, like, at all. It's a prop can. It's meant to crumble easy, which, by the way, doesn't make it better, but, just adding a couple more details into the story. If I was Raja, like, I would have probably been that same way too. However, afterwards, and even during, their little like talk back and forth, the other wrestlers were telling him like, yo, he's not a worker. Basically, essentially telling him like, oh, he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't get it. But then the chat starts getting into Raja's head, right? They start really getting into his head, start, clowning him or whatever. They think, Raja's a bitch or whatever. And he had also recently gotten concussed in sparring. Supposedly he got concussed in sparring because he got rocked. I saw the video. He got head kicked by a dude. They were supposed to be light sparring in their spar a couple days ago, 2-3 days ago. And Raja got head kicked, spinning head kick. It was like that. It was like a twist and then bam, hit hard. He got rocked, he got concussed, allegedly, supposedly. So he already was like getting a little bit clowned, not only by his father, but by people on the internet, his chat, his supposed fans, right? So they start getting into his head throughout the whole event and stuff. Then eventually he gets in there. Now, I don't know if this was a part of a script or whatever. It probably was. It was probably, him getting his get back. You know what I'm saying? We call it a receipt in wrestling. That's what we call it. Like when somebody hits you for real, hits you a little too hard, you just get them back with it. That's all it is. You don't go out there and you start beating the shit out of him or nothing. You don't start beating his ass up. It's just a little bit of rough housing. He goes in there, the guy, the wrestler, he's probably like, oh, this is a part of the show or whatever. So he probably doesn't think much about it. However, I will fault him for not tucking his chin in. Then again, he's old, and maybe even if he tucked his chin, he would have still hit his head. Because in wrestling, for a lot of moves, you gotta tuck your chin in so you don't hit the back of your head when you go down. You kind of land like this a little bit. It's standard wrestling stuff. But, I mean, Raja, he has a slam on him, and he was going in there with intentions of hurting this dude, this old man, this old vet. So he slams him, and then this is when it gets bad. He starts punching him while he's out on the ground. He was out. You know what I'm saying? He was completely out of it. And Raja punches him twice, right? By that point, it's like, first two punches is like, you know what? I could give you a little bit of leeway, all right? Maybe you think he's like, he's a wrestler. Maybe he's just acting out the part a little bit or whatever. But then I see the third punch coming, and I'm like, oh, he's going for real. And then the fourth, then the fifth, the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Then we start getting more. About 20 plus punches later, the dude is still knocked out, just getting bitched on the ground by Raja. Just bink, bink, bink. Just getting hit with it. And the wrestlers are complete pussies. Because this was a multiple match. I think this was a tag match. I think it was a 3-on-3 or something like that. Only one of them was like kind of pushing him out the way. By the way, what a shit ref. He also wasn't doing nothing. Jack shit he was doing. Fuck all. I'm sorry for all the swearing, but this really just riles me up. So only one of them was like kind of trying one of the wrestlers after like 10 punches. And it was like grabbing him by the shoulder. That pissed me off too, man. Like if you're going to push him off good. It didn't even look like he was really trying. It looked like some weak ass shit. It looked like weak sauce. But then eventually after the 20 plus punches or so, they actually push him off and they push Raj into a corner, right? He leaves the event, one of the other wrestlers, says something to Raja. Raja was ready to go again. But Raja, before getting into it, like I said, he doesn't respect the business. So he goes, before he got in there, he was like, oh, I'm going to do this shit for real. You know what I'm saying? And then afterwards, he was like, it's because niggas keep trying me, man. Niggas think I'm pussy and shit. And it's like, I get it. But the punches, that's when it became attempted murder. You know what I'm saying? I get the whole people trying you. A lot of people deal with this. I've dealt with this before. You know what I'm saying? I've had moments where I feel like people are also trying me. They think I'm pussy or whatever. But you gotta learn to have mental fortitude. You know what I'm saying? Solitude, all that. Be fucking for real. Stop being a fucking retard. Alright? A lot of people in the comment sections are being like, well, of course I got to be the black kid. You know what I'm saying? The black guy. Ooh, that was bad. But, stuff like that. Like, oh, who would have thought the person whose peoples are statistically, the most violent and et cetera, et cetera. This is the type of stuff that makes, minority communities look bad, black people look bad. This is the type of shit that makes them look bad. This is one of the stuff that leads to black fatigue, they're calling it. This is terrible. This is why people really need to start thinking. This is why motherfuckers is so dumb. They don't think, or they don't have the mental strength. Now, I learned that not everybody can have it, but like, damn, it just sucks that he doesn't have it, because he was so entertaining. I will never look at him the same way. You know, Raja, just what a retard, unintelligent fucking moron. What a fucking idiot. I used to think he was a young man that just liked to, you know, joke around or whatever. He seemed pretty respectful when things got serious. But man, this is what happens when the ego of a fighter leads you to a dark path. This is the type of shit that happens when you don't get your ego in check. And I get it, easier said than done or whatever. But come on, man. Like, this is one of the reasons why some people are racist, for example, and clearly shown by, you know, the comment sections on their videos, you know, like I just told y'all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Obviously, the racist stuff is not okay, even if, you know, what he did was fucking terrible. Is he a retard? Yes. Is he a complete dumbass? Yes. Rampage did a tweet. I read like a little over half of it. He's trying to do damage control. He's trying to spin a narrative that just ain't true. Because, you know, he obviously is trying to look out for his son still. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to make everything better. He doesn't want him to get jail time, obviously. But I personally think this is what Raja needs. If the judge goes light on him, he will, like, the most lightest he should, or I mean could do, would be like 2 years. He probably won't get 20 unless he gets hit hard with it. But I'd say he's probably gonna get like 5 or 10, something like that. I think 2 years would probably be good enough, you know, maybe even 5, even though that's a long time. But 10, 15, that's like, you know, it's a little harsh. That would be a little harsh, in my opinion. No, I don't think he should be getting any other punishments other than those. I think that, you know, like I said, 2 years, I think at minimum he has to go to jail. And I hope that, you know, the wrestler and his family are doing better now. I hope they get a big payout. Honestly, I wouldn't blame him for suing or nothing. And the worst part is that Rampage is the one that gets stuck with all this. He's already, you know, getting shit from people, right? A lot of people are liking him, but a lot of people are hating on him because, you know, he has a wide history of just other stuff and things he's talked about in the past, you know, how he acts. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people do, you know, really polarizing figure, essentially. All the stuff about Rampage. A lot of stuff that he does. But yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about this whole situation. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye. See y'all later. Peace. Peace.